There are three basic types of putter and shaft combinations: shaft in hosel, shaft over hosel, and bent shaft in hosel. The videos that follow will guide you in performing the shaft installation process on these three basic designs. Identify the bore diameter of the hosel using digital calipers. Once the inside bore diameter is known, choose the proper tip diameter shaft. Check the bore depth of the hosel with the shaft and mark the shaft with a piece of masking tape. It may be necessary to prep the tip of the shaft before it will slide into the hosel. If the shaft will not fit into the hosel, measure the depth of the hosel with a pencil or similar object and note the depth. Transfer the measurement to the shaft and mark with a piece of masking tape. Prep the tip of the shaft using the proper procedures. It is recommended that a coarse grit sandpaper be used for prepping the tip of a steel putter shaft. After the bore depth is checked and the shaft is prepped, install the shaft into the head without epoxy. With a putter head on the shaft, measure the shaft for final length. To do this, place the club in the playing position and measure using the 48-inch club ruler. Lay the ruler behind the shaft with the ruler running down the length of the shaft. Mark the shaft for the desired playing length. Remove the head and cut the shaft to length using the proper procedures. After cutting, reinstall the head on the shaft and recheck the length. Before you can epoxy the head on the shaft, the hosel must be cleaned. This is done to clean out any dirt or oil that may prevent the epoxy from bonding properly. This is a critical step to ensure the proper bond. The first step is to use the hosel honing tool or wire brush to clean and abrade the inside of the hosel. This wire brush loosens unwanted material in the hosel and roughs up the inside of the bore, which helps adhesion. The next step is to take cotton swabs dipped in acetone and swab out the hosel. After swabbing out the hosel, set the club aside to dry for a few minutes. Mix the epoxy using proper procedures. It is recommended that the Golfworks High Impact Epoxy, Tour Set Plus Epoxy, or Tour Set Epoxy be used. It is recommended that enough epoxy be used to adequately assemble 2 clubs. After dispensing the epoxy, mix well for 60 seconds. Place a portion of the epoxy inside the hosel bore using a mixing stick. Next, apply epoxy to the tip of the shaft. Be sure to get good coverage over the tip of the shaft. Install the shaft into the hosel bore, slowly rotating or twisting the shaft as it goes into the hosel. Once the shaft is all the way into the hosel, pull it approximately halfway out, continuing to rotate the shaft. This helps ensure the epoxy is covering the entire area inside the hosel and on the shaft tip. Once the shaft is installed, use a paper towel dampened with grip solvent or epoxy-gone wipes to wipe the excess epoxy from around the top of the hosel bore and the shaft. All the excess epoxy must be cleaned off during this process. Turn the club upside down and gently tap on a hard surface to ensure the shaft is properly seated in the hosel. Set the club aside to cure in a secure place with the head down. After the appropriate time for curing has passed, check the head to be sure it is securely on the shaft. Install the grip using the proper procedures.